This is episode 44 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. The Bengals and Browns have made a bit of noise in the free agency market this week, and I kind of need to get something off my chest that might not be the most popular opinion. Also, my new Joe Burrow jersey finally came in, and courtesy of my esteemed co-host Thomas, who is paying for this excellent piece as a result of losing our playoff predictions bet last season. Thank God we didn't bet on the regular season predictions, by the way, because I would have probably had to buy him two jerseys, how badly I lost that one. But I won the one that we bet on, so that's what's important. And at the end of the episode, we're going to touch base on the hilarious continued dysfunction in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. Because why, Thomas?
I was going to say I did get one playoff. I did get one playoff win correct, and that's the most important one. The one when the Steelers still suck.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but I like how you.
Oh, trust me, it's always a destination to my wild craziness.
All right. So,
welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
Why don't you tell me what you're drinking today, Thomas?
Today I'm drinking a lemonade from Piata. Piata's a great pasta place. It's really good, and they got lemonade. It's refreshing. Taking a break for alcohol for health reasons.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm going to drink again. But health always is more important. So I'll be back healthy again. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely think that's probably the right thing to do. I mean, I've never quite experienced that, but I hear it sucks. Yeah.
The great way to put it.
Yep. So I am drinking tonight. I got a Smithwick's and Sons Ireland. Wow, that's just that is a mouthful. That's a terrible name. Smithwick's and Sons Ireland.
It's Smithwick's and Son in Ireland.
Do what?
It's Smithwick's and Fun all in Ireland.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying it doesn't roll off the tongue. It's difficult to say. It's a red ale. It's an Irish red, so I imagine it'll probably be pretty good. So, oh yeah, that's good. That's good. I like reds. Reds are good. Also, the Reds are good. I think. I don't know. I don't follow baseball. Are the Reds doing good? I heard they were. No, they're not.
No, I don't think so.
Damn. Well, they were, and then they stopped, and then they were again, and I guess now they aren't anymore.
I don't think they're in last place, if I'm not mistaken. They are currently. Let me look at this real quick. They're currently. Oh, no, they're only 3 games back from first place. 4 games back from first place. So they're still very much in it. No, the 3 games back from first place. So yeah, they're okay. Yeah.
Well, you know who is doing well, at least as far as the offseason goes. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, we'll see what happens when the season actually gets here. But the Bengals so far seem to have been doing pretty well this offseason, and they're making more moves. So I don't know if it's going to happen at this point. Maybe it will. It kind of seems like the rumors kind of pop up and then they kind of subside for a while before we sign anybody, and then we actually sign somebody. So I don't know what's going on with this anymore. But earlier this week, it was looking like we were talking to former Steelers cornerback Steven Nelson, who was also being recruited by former Steelers cornerback Mike Hilton, who we have already signed. The exodus from Pittsburgh continues, and apparently all the defensive backs are just coming to Cincinnati.
Well, I mean, they're trying to have the deepest cornerback backfield ever. You know, they say, you can never have too many cornerbacks, and whoever's building Cincinnati's roster must took it to heart. Got to get as many cornerbacks as possible.
Listen, the lack of quarterback depth last year must have traumatized them.
Because
Because
a pass happy league.
well, if we sign Steven Nelson, you know what our cornerback room is going to be? It's going to be Steven Nelson. It's going to be Chidobe Awuzie, who we signed. It's going to be Trey Waynes, who we signed last year. It's going to be Mike Hilton, who we just signed. It's going to be Darius Phillips, who is a returning player. It's going to be Eli Apple, who we just signed. It's going to be Ricardo Allen, who we just signed. You know how many players that is, Thomas? That's 7 players. That means one of these guys is going to get cut or traded or something. Like if we sign Steven Nelson, not all of these guys that we've signed. I mean, I guess there'd be Darius Phillips. He'd be the odd man out since he hasn't just been signed. But I mean, like, they're serious about just bringing in as much competition as they can to make this cornerback room competitive. Because I think they remember having to play Jalen Davis last year, and they're like, no, we're not doing that anymore. But I mean, it's just like, you know, it seems like a lot of emphasis they're putting on one position when they maybe should have put more emphasis on other positions.
Well, it should. You know, like I said, cornerback. We're in an NFL now where there's a lot of emphasis on the pass.
Yeah.
You have so many quarterbacks in the league now. Obviously, you know, this is a time where quarterbacks are throwing the ball more than ever. The amount of passes that are being thrown, the amount of receivers that people are invested in. You know, we need as many cornerbacks as possible to try and adjust to what the league is producing. So the league is now producing these quarterbacks that could throw a lot, that could do a lot of passes, and we're seeing quarterbacks throw the ball 30 times a game. So we need as many cornerbacks as possible. So the Cincinnati Bengals are just adjusting to the new NFL.
That's true. I will admit that, but I mean, there are other aspects of the game that matter. Like,
oh yeah,
like I was personally hoping that we'd put a little bit more of an emphasis on the returner position, like kick return, punt return, because special teamers are people too. I mean,
Yeah,
I know we
yeah.
went out and got a kicker. We signed a undrafted punter who I don't think is going to take down Kevin Huber, but now we did actually just like. I think like a couple hours, maybe. I think it was today, a couple hours before we recorded this podcast, the Bengals announced that they are signing Trent Taylor, the former slot wide receiver of the 49ers. So if he does make the roster, he'll most likely come in and be our backup slot to Tyler Boyd. And the thing about Trent Taylor is he's an experienced returner. I believe he's returned 51 kicks or punts in his NFL career. So, I mean, if he makes the roster, he's the favorite to get that job pretty much. So, I mean, not the world's biggest signing or anything like that, but, you know, we did finally bring in somebody who is like, you know, their primary job might be returning kicks and punts because we don't have Giovanni Bernard anymore, which was part of his skill set. We don't have Alex Erickson anymore. And there's Brandon Wilson, but like, is Brandon Wilson going to do it all? I don't think he is.
You know who the Browns going to have return their kicks possibly that I'm kind of excited about?
Cody Parkey.
No, I was going to say Anthony Shorts.
Yeah.
Anthony Shorts. Yeah. No. Like, there's a rumor that they might use Anthony Shorts as a punt returner. I think that'd be great because he's so fast.
I put together a list because I like when we were doing like those mock draft simulators and we were, you know, like looking up the the prospect rankings in each position. One thing that I noticed was that there wasn't a rankings list of like kick and punt returners. So I made my own list, and Anthony Schwartz, I think, was the third guy on my list. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, if, you know, you guys drafted, I was almost positive you guys were going to bring him in to do that.
Yeah, me too.
That's a good guy to have do it.
I'm happy we got him.
That could be he could be the next Devin Hester, honestly.
Well, they also will, or next Josh Cribbs. People forget how great he was. But but not here or there.
Longer, though.
Yeah, but Josh Cribbs, he has more kick returns than any other player of all time. Josh Cribbs, you're a legend. Josh Cribbs is insane. The only good part about being a Browns fan growing up was Josh Cribbs. No, but they also have that kid, that Williams kid that tore the ACL from the Rams that we had.
Yeah. So, I kind of hinted at it at the beginning of the episode. And this will probably be the last thing I say about the Bengals, and then we'll move on to talking about the things the Browns have been doing. But real quick, I just kind of want to get something off my chest about everybody who's using Mike Brown as a bashing point for any point they don't agree with what the Bengals have done with, I mean, this offseason, this offseason, the previous offseason before that. It's like, Mike Brown is the scapegoat. And that shit worked great when I was a kid, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense anymore, guys. Like, I we really kind of need to move beyond. Not that Mike Brown doesn't deserve blame for how bad the franchise had gotten at one point, and not that I think he deserves that much credit for them turning things around or anything like that. But he's just not really like the source of anything anymore. I mean, like I believe he still kind of has final say, more or less, when it comes to a lot of decisions. But Katie and Troy, like his daughter Katie Blackburn, and her husband Troy Blackburn are kind of running the team, and they really have been ever since like 2011. And I mean, it's even at the point where Katie's daughter Elizabeth is taking a significant role in the team. Like, the whole Ring of Honor thing, a lot of various like on the ground type things have been completely controlled by Elizabeth Blackburn at this point. So like Mike Brown, I literally think Mike Brown just kind of like sits there and like advises, and that's really about all he does. So I mean, like people saying like, oh, the Bengals didn't do this thing I liked. Damn, Mike Brown, what a bad person who just doesn't know how to be a good football executive. And it's like, well, yeah, that's probably true, but like, the football decisions have been run mostly by like I said, Katie and Troy Blackburn, Duke Tobin, the guy who's kind of like the de facto general man. He's officially like the head of player personnel or something like that. But he essentially acts as a general manager, and he has for a very long time. And, Mike Potts, the head scout, has been here since 2015. So again, I'm not trying to defend Mike Brown as a football executive. I mean, me of all people ain't going to be doing that. See my, previous history with the Houday Revolution from,
the Houday Revolution.
Do you remember that?
When the Houday came out, when that phrase, and then New Orleans tried to steal your phrase?
No. No. Not the Houday versus Houdat thing. It was like it was this movement that like Bengals fans put together because they were sick and tired of the way Mike Brown was running the team, so they decided to do whatever they could to try to like pressure Mike Brown into selling the team. So like we did things like we went to like some of the most famous things we did. We like put up a billboard right next to Paul Brown Stadium that basically said Mike Brown sell the team. We had a plane, like like the plane with like that like pulling one of those like tails that has the sign on it, like it's got like a message on it. It's like usually used for advertisements or sometimes wedding proposals. It's like a plane that pulls like a string behind it. It's got words written on it, and it basically had Mike Brown's record on it as the Bengals owner. Basically, again, trying to encourage him to sell the team. At one point, a bunch of guys from the movement got together, and before a Bengals game, they went in and replaced all the urinal cakes at the stadium with custom urinal cakes that had Mike Brown's record as a team owner on it, so that you could just piss on Mike Brown's record. I mean, there was a shit ton of shit that happened, and I was like 16, 17 at the time, so I wasn't able to do that much with it, but I was one of the biggest like online supporters of this movement at the time.
No, you were on the trolls online.
Exactly. Well, it was basically a movement to troll Mike Brown so much that he would, sell the team, and obviously it didn't work. But the point of what I'm trying to say here is that like, me of all people is not going to be inclined to try to defend Mike Brown. So I'm not trying to defend Mike Brown here. My point is let's move on, because I think Mike Brown has basically moved on. The Bengals have certainly moved on from being solely controlled by Mike Brown. Can we focus on putting blame? If you don't agree with if you agree or disagree with whatever decisions they're making this offseason, whatever, but put the blame where it needs to be put. If you think that there's a problem, then attacking the source of the problem's probably the way to do that, right? Instead of just using like a straw man like Mike Brown, because he really doesn't have. I mean, he's got all the power in the world. He just doesn't really use that power anymore. He doesn't make the decisions anymore. So I'm like the reason I said earlier that's probably not going to be the most popular opinion is because, like I said, it's going to sound like I'm defending Mike Brown, and nobody likes Mike Brown, and it's just my point is, Bengals fans, can we please just find a better argument at this point? Can we find somebody else to talk about? Because talking about Mike Brown is like old and tired at this point. It's ridiculous.
I can honestly say I don't hate or like the man. I mean, I like his father.
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody likes his father. The entire NFL likes his father. They put him in the Hall of Fame. Literally nobody cares about Mike Brown except for Bengals fans. The majority of them don't like him. I don't particularly like him.
How do you live up to Mufasa, Simba?
But Mike Brown doesn't even deserve to be compared to Simba. He's like he's like if Simba was like, I don't know.
How do you live up to Goku, Gohan?
Yeah, he's kind of like Gohan. He just, except the main difference is he doesn't even seem to have the potential in him. Like Gohan's got the potential, right? Like, Gohan has done cool stuff. He just gave it up to go do something else. Mike Brown tried to follow in his father's footsteps and miserably failed.
I'm about to train with Piccolo again so I can get back in shape. I just got to get back in shape.
But well, see, that's the thing. When he does train, he does well. The only thing that didn't work was against Majin Buu. But I mean, even then, that was.
I got bucket by Majin Buu. That was hilarious. I mean, like when I was a kid, I was traumatized, but now as an adult, I laugh at him because he was a bum. You bum! I'm here beating Cell and stuff, but you come to Majin Buu, get your butt whacked. You beat Cell when you was 12 years old. Like
exactly.
Nobody in a universe could beat him, but you. We will travel back in time, but they couldn't beat that man.
That's what I'm saying. Like Mike Brown didn't even have that beating Cell moment. Like, I mean, there are some who say that he was kind of in charge of the team when they went to the Super Bowl in 1988 because Paul Brown was like a couple of years away from dying at that point. But I mean, honestly, like, no, he wasn't. Like, I mean, he didn't build that team. He didn't coach that team. He didn't really do. The only thing he was maybe starting to take like over like the duties of the team, like as the owner. But I mean, he definitely didn't. He definitely wasn't responsible for the team going to the Super Bowl. It's just a ridiculous concept.
Anyway, that's not here or there.
No, it's not. But I needed to get that off my chest because I'm sick and tired trying to tell people this on Twitter, on Facebook, I'm constantly like, guys, does this make any sense? But I have to say the same damn point over and over and over again. I'm probably gonna have to keep saying it because we have like 12 subscribers, but still, eventually we'll have more subscribers, and somebody will listen to this and be like, yeah, Kyle's got a good point about Mike Brown. So,
all right.
All right, so that was pretty much just, I needed to rant about that, but that's pretty much all I have to talk about with the Bengals this week. As far as the Browns go, well, they signed a kicker.
Hey, man, look. I mean, like,
people too.
First of all, kickers are people too. The highest scoring player on your team is a kicker. Kicker can win you a game or lose you a game. Let's not forget how important a kicker is. Anybody that might be better than Cody Parkey, you go ahead and bring him in. Now, what I heard from this guy is he can either kick it really far, or he can't kick it, or he can kick it really close, but he can't kick it in between. Basically, what I hear is he misses most kicks between 40 and 50 yards, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm excited about seeing what he can do. I'm excited about seeing what he can do. So, go kicker.
Well, you see, okay, here's my thought process. Like Chase McLaughlin, right? Or McLaughlin. I actually don't know how. I've heard people pronounce it both ways. I had a friend whose last name was McLaughlin, so I don't know if this guy's Chase McLaughlin or Chase McLaughlin. But either way,
McLambo.
McLambo.
I don't know. No, I was just thinking of Lamborghini when I seen his name.
I guess. But I mean, okay, so the Browns claimed this guy off of waivers, and I mean, he hasn't really done much in his NFL career so far. He has bounced around so many different like tryouts and training camps and off-season activities, and I mean, like this, like I don't think he's really being brought in to compete with Cody Parkey. I think he's probably being brought in as a camp leg to make things easier on Cody Parkey.
Well, here goes something now. Is about these kickers. So one thing about kickers is that they a lot of times they could have better later starts of their career, so their body changes, because like your body is very important when it comes to kicking a football. I learned from watching videos about Phil Dawson. And I remember Zane Gonzaga, Browns drafted this kicker a couple years ago, named Gonzagas. Yeah, did I say his right name right? Yeah. And
he was the best kicker in the draft that year.
Yeah, but they didn't let him pan out. They let him go, and now he's tearing up for other teams.
I wouldn't say tearing up. Like, I mean, he's playing for other teams.
He's not doing bad.
I mean, like, this isn't like the situation like the Bengals just seem to have this habit of getting rid of kickers, and then they end up going on to have like illustrious careers in other places. Like I mean, they were like most recently. Everybody knows about the Jake Elliott thing, where we drafted Jake Elliott and he battled with Randy Bullock in camp, and then we're like, oh no, we want Randy Bullock, and then like that alone, Marvin Lewis deserved to be fired for that alone. And then he went off to Philadelphia and started making like 50, 60-yard kicks and then won a Super Bowl with them. And it's just kind of like, then we had Randy Bullock got calf cramps. And then the other famous story that I recall is, when I was a kid, we drafted this kicker named Neil Rackers, right? And boy, you want to talk about just one of the most absolutely terrible kickers you've ever seen in your life. He just could not hit anything for the Bengals, man. Like, I mean, it was like, he couldn't kick off properly. He couldn't he was not clutch when it came to sinking in field goals. We were losing games because of him. We cut him. He goes to the Arizona Cardinals and basically has a borderline Hall of Fame career.
I'm looking at this dude's stats. They aren't horrible. He's 31. He's 31, 32 for extra points. He's when it comes to career field goal attempts, he's 22 or 28. He's from 50 yards. He attempted 4 and missed 5. So he's 4 for 5 for 50 yards. Isn't bad. He only missed 1 extra point. For 40 yards though, this is where he struggled. He's 6 of 11, but he's 5 for 5 for 30 yards to 39 yards. He's 6 for 6 from 20 yards to 29 yards, and he's 1 for 1 from 0 to 19. So he gets those chippies. Maybe there's something there. Maybe somebody be had there. He's still young. He's only 25 years old.
Right. I mean, there might be something to be developed there, but I mean, he's already been on. He's been in the league for 2 seasons, and he's already been on 5 different teams. The Browns will be his 6th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, and I mean, here's the thing. You look at his numbers, they're not that impressive. Like, I mean, like overall, his field goal percentage is 78.6. And he's missed a few of his very few extra point attempts. He's even missed a couple of those. I believe he's missed 2 extra point attempts, which again, when you haven't started a game in your entire career, that's not good.
He missed one extra point kick. No, yeah, you're right. He missed two.
Yeah, he missed two. He missed
one in Jacksonville, so he missed two.
Yeah, he missed one in Jacksonville and one.
Oh no, yeah, he only missed one. Yeah, he's 32.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, he missed just the one in Jacksonville. That's fair enough.
Yeah. So
he also did perform generally pretty poorly in Jacksonville. That was he hit 80% of his field goals, which by the way he only kicked like he only missed 2 kicks, right?
Yeah.
But he only had, what was it, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He only had 14 attempts, and he missed 2 of them.
Yeah,
so,
true.
I mean, that kind of like in most careers, if you're getting like 12 of 14 attempts at anything correct, you're probably doing okay. But at kicker, the standard.
I know. You got to, yeah.
Because you have one job, and so when you mess up, that your performance at your one job gets highlighted a lot more.
It's so hard to find a good kicker. That's what I tell you, man. That's why I said draft the kicker. Draft the kicker.
Yeah. I agree. Although again, I will say, as a somebody who wants the Bengals to draft a kicker, the problem is it seems like every time we draft a kicker, they end up like not impressing the Bengals and then going on to have great careers elsewhere. So I just hope Evan McPherson breaks the trend. Because all the really good kickers that we've had, and that's really good in air quotes, but I mean like Shane Graham was a really good kicker that we had, and we didn't draft him. He'd played for a couple other teams before us. Mike Nugent had his ups and downs, but he was generally a pretty solid kicker for us. But I think he got drafted by like the Jets or something like that. The best kicker we ever had was, in my opinion, the best kicker we ever had was that one guy from Kentucky. What was his name? He's like a local news anchor, Doug Pelfrey. Yeah, Doug Pelfrey. He was a really good kicker we had back in like the 90s, and we did draft him. We drafted him in the 8th round. Back when the 8th round was a thing. Yeah. So today that would essentially be undrafted. Well, I guess it technically counts as drafting the guy. And then before him was like Jim Breach, which the Raiders drafted. So I mean, it's like, the one guy we ever had who we drafted who ended up being good for us was Doug Pelfrey. And even then, we drafted him in a round that today would be undrafted. So, man, I hope Evan McPherson works out. I really do. But we just have not had good history with drafting kickers.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. As far as the Browns go, though, I think I will still maintain the fact that I think Chase McLaughlin is just being brought in to keep Cody Parkey's leg fresh. I don't think he's being brought in this competition. I think he's being brought in just as a camp leg.
Okay. I don't mind Cody Parker. He didn't do bad. He didn't do horrible for us. I mean, there could have been worse kickers.
Doink, doink.
Shut up. He makes one doink. He makes 2 doinks.
He makes 2 doinks. That's too many doinks. But I mean, if you're going to allow for any doinks, that's 1 too many doinks.
He did 2 doinks in one play. The problem was he doinked it and it fell out of the goalpost. What's his name? Phil Dawson. One time he doinked it on what's it called? On Baltimore. He doinked it through the goalpost to win the game.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember like when y'all let Phil Dawson go and he ended up on the 49ers. That was like a big fucking deal because he was like, at the time, he was like the best player of the Browns. That incarnation of the Browns.
Yeah, we had Phil Dawson. We had freaking Josh Cribbs. We got a hell of a second of a
special teams.
Yeah, hell special teams, but our rest of our teams suck.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Hey, so in other Browns news, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah was talking to the Beacon Journal, and he said that his heart is 100% healthy.
Yeah.
So I don't know what rumor was going around, and now, okay, also maybe he's just kind of saying that. You never know, but if that's true, he's about to make a lot of people look really stupid for passing on him. Most of them twice, by the way. Because, I mean, the Browns didn't get him at the top of the second round. They got him in, like, what was it, pick 52?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we got him real cheap.
Yeah, he's a...
we got him a good, really spot.
Talented player. So, I mean, like the Bengals, for example, right? We passed on him for Jamar Chase and an offensive lineman. So, I mean, like, even if he's like the greatest linebacker in the world, nobody's, I think, going to be looking at us like, you're stupid for passing on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Mm-hmm.
But most NFL teams probably could have used him, and if his heart's fine, then that was a big mistake.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited about Jeremiah. I think that the most exciting thing about him is just like is the different packages and different ways he's gonna be used, how athletic he is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. He's gonna be so good. He's gonna be so good. That was a good pickup. That was a really good pickup. That was
very good. I would argue that picking him up now, obviously, if his health does fail, then it was a terrible pickup. But
I think it was a rumor to draft stock now.
I think that he might have been a better pickup than Greg. Greg Newsome was a fine first-round pick. Mm-hmm. I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah would have been a better first-round pick. And then you get him anyway in the second round. So it's just like, fuck. It's kind of like, the Bengals' opinion of Jackson Carman was that he could have been a first-round talent. So, they're saying, oh, we're going to pick him number 38, but then they trade down and then they get him at number 46. So, I mean, if the Bengals' opinion of Jackson Carman is correct, then, that's the kind of thing we're talking about here. We're talking about getting a guy who you probably should have taken earlier than you did just because of necessity. And then you pass on him, and then you pass on him, and then what? Fuck, he's still there.
What's most exciting about it too? What's most exciting about it is that like the Browns, the whole time of my lifetime, we had to get excited about these players that really weren't nothing to be excited about, like freaking like getting excited about that kick returning Justin Gilbert. The same because you remember the Browns had 2 first-round picks in the Johnny Manziel draft, and they whiffed them both of them.
Well, I'll be honest, he had me fooled too, because while I was laughing my ass off over the Johnny Manziel pick, because I knew it was coming. I was just kind of like, the fucking Browns, they suck. They seriously bit the apple. But the Justin Gilbert pick scared me because I thought Justin Gilbert was going to be great.
He athletically, yes, but we didn't. But his attitude, they wasn't checking for these players' attitude. So you might have thought he was great, but the other NFL, everybody else in the NFL knew that was a horrible pick because they knew that he had this horrible attitude.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I had not heard any stories about that attitude. It's like yeah, I mean, I usually hear something about these players, but with him, it's just like, he was put out there as like, the next Patrick Peterson. Well, yeah, Patrick Peterson was already in the NFL at that point, I think. He was put out there as kind of like the next Patrick Peterson, the next Darrelle Revis, the next great NFL cornerback. That's what Justin Gilbert was supposed to be in that draft class. Like he was supposed to be like, oh, this guy might be like, a top 5 pick, kind of thing. And
yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if he had been a top 5 pick, we'd be talking about him as one of the biggest draft busts of all time. But, he wasn't. And yeah. But I'll admit, I was fooled. I was fooled by him. I thought he would be
great. Man. I don't know. So I'm just happy that we have picks that's I'm just happy that we have picks that I'm just happy. I'm just happy that our picks are going to work. That we're picking players that we could look at and go like, all right, I have a really good feeling about this. I trust this player. Like I'm liking what I'm seeing from this player. I'm liking what I'm getting back from him. So let's hope both of these players work out. There's not a lot of pressure from coming into the draft. And I really don't think the JOK's heart thing is the real thing. A lot of false reports come out around this time right before the draft. A lot of stuff comes out. All of a sudden, all the prospects smoke weed, or they find this old video or this old tweet from certain prospects and make this big thing. Oh, it's gonna follow them for the rest of their career. And people forget about
what happened to Laramie Tunsil, right?
Yeah, people forgot about that. People forgot about that after the draft.
Well, people really forgot about it after he came into the NFL and he started like playing really well.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah,
and now he.
Oh my God, he smoked weed
in the wasteland of the Houston Texans, but he's going to play really good, offensive lineman for the Houston Texans while they go 0-17 every year. Man, he turned into a wonderland of picks for the Dolphins. That was just it's unbelievable. Like if you actually look at the number of picks the Dolphins have turned that one guy into, because they've traded some of those picks they got for him into even more picks. It's insane the amount of draft capital they got for trading that one guy who is like a pretty good left tackle, but he's not even we're not even talking about Andrew Whitworth or anything like that. We're talking about a guy who's probably like left tackle 10 or something like that, pretty good, but not like an all-time great or anything like that.
He's solid.
He is solid, and that's important. Would I like to have Laramie Tunsil on my team? Yes. For that price, no. Absolutely not. Yeah,
nah. So I mean, I'm not tripping over NFL reports on game day of the NFL draft. I'm not tripping over those, because those things, it's just funny how they always pop up from one day, then you just kind of forget about them.
Well, I guess we'll find out as we watch the development of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah's career. We'll see if that heart issue pops up again.
I did tell you one thing I didn't forget. I didn't forget that homeless guy that told our owner to draft Johnny Manziel.
A homeless guy told him to draft Johnny Manziel?
Yeah, you didn't hear the story? Walking on the street last night, and I had this homeless guy come up to me. He said, draft Johnny Manziel. And then I knew at that moment that I had to draft Johnny Manziel, and that's how the Browns drafted Johnny Manziel. That's a real story.
Can we get those Browns back, please? I miss having somebody to be better than.
That's a real story.
God damn it.
That's a real story.
That is gold.
That's a real story.
That's gold.
That's a real story that's been confirmed by a lot of people too, by the way. A lot of important people.
You know what? You know what? As much as I want, as much as part of me wants the Joker Browns to come back, for my own personal selfishness, it is kind of funny that the Pittsburgh Steelers are kind of turning into that as we speak. As time goes by, pretty much ever since 2018, the Steelers have kind of been turning themselves into the joke of the NFL. Now, maybe not the joke of the NFL, because again, the Houston Texans, it's hard to outdo how insane they are right now. But that's a somewhat funky transition into the state of the AFC North.
Yeah, Steelers are close.
So let's talk about the really funny Steelers news that I heard.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Ravens cornerback Marlon Humphrey was on the Bleacher Report Gridiron podcast this week, and he told a story about he overheard Ben Roethlisberger during a game literally telling wide receivers what routes to run in like on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, not like hand signals to tell what the play is, not et cetera, et cetera. No, he was literally like, do this route, you're gonna run this way, and et cetera. And so I mean, you're a Ravens opposing cornerback. You're like, dude, I'm right here. Really?
It just confirms what we you remember. All right. So you remember like week 9 or week 10, it was when it still is on that winning streak, and you said the whole time they're in the winning streak, they're the fakest 11-0 team in the NFL, and I was like, I don't know, they're pretty good. But then I started to come around to the train that the Steelers aren't as good as people are saying when the report came out that Ben Roethlisberger, you remember we bringing this up on the podcast. The report came out that Ben Roethlisberger was scrapping plays, from the offense coordinator, and I was like, I don't know how sustainable that is. Like, I don't know how sustainable that is, and I said, I don't know if it's true, but like after hearing everything that happened last year, I'm always 100% certain it's true. Because of stuff like that, stories like that. Like, like this dude had to be like changing the plays. You have offense coordinator for a reason. You can't be running the offense and trying to quarterback a team. Like he's doing too much.
Shit like this is just one of some of many examples of how dysfunctional the Steelers offense was last year. It's just, it's insane to think about. Just how, and like I said, it's been this way pretty much since 2018, ever since, Antonio Brown started kind of going off his rocker. The entire Steelers as an organization, at least on the offensive side of the ball, not on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, the entire Pittsburgh Steelers organization has just been melting, just like radioactively melting down.
Yeah,
it's been funny. We heard about, like I said last year, everything on the offense seemingly ran through Ben Roethlisberger's ego. And you had Randy Fichtner, the offensive coordinator, he was basically playing second fiddle as far as play calling duties, directly verbalizing the intended play on the field in front of the defense is just the icing on the cake. Like, I mean, we're talking about like, we were talking about the Browns being like, just a funny joke for a very long time, right? Well, I mean, the Steelers are taking the mantle from them right now. And I'm not saying that this is going to be sustainable. I'm not saying they're going to be bad for a decade. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen. But right now, the Steelers are a joke, and it's great. And if you watch Steelers fans, like on any Pittsburgh Steelers like community website somewhere, like Behind the Steel Curtain, for example, which is their SB Nation page, just go look up the articles that they've been writing lately, and it's just all panic. It's panic and just justifying and overly committing to just this farce of a football team, and it's beautiful. I'm so glad it's finally happening because it's so long overdue.
Oh, I can't wait to with the Steelers twice this year. Oh, I can't wait for it. Oh, I can't wait to see the Steelers just.
Well, if this continues into 2021, because another thing we need to talk about as far as the state of the AFC North is, this is the first episode we've done, I believe, since the schedule was released, right? Like we did the live episode.
Yeah.
I was planning on doing like a breakdown episode of the Bengals schedule. I never really got around to it because I had a really busy weekend. But we kind of did that in the live episode anyway. So, I took a look at the Steelers schedule, right? And here, let me actually bring it up real quick. So, the Steelers do not have a particularly enviable schedule in the first place, right? And on top of that, I really don't see, their defense is good. I'll give them that. I don't know if their defense is going to be as good as it was last year because they didn't really add to it very much, right? They lost some pieces. They didn't really add to it very much. It's basically going to be like the defense is going to be the same defense that was last year minus some pieces. Not any really key pieces, but minus some pieces. Definitely a much weaker secondary, that's for sure. So I decided I was going to go through the schedule and just kind of just real quick think, which games do I see the Steelers winning here? And as we talked about in our live breakdown of the schedule, I do think the Bengals are going to be sweep the Steelers this year. So maybe other people would be seeing that and be like, oh, there's 2 wins for the Steelers right there. Well, I think that's 2 losses for the Steelers. First of all, I don't think they're going to get swept in the entire division this year. I think they're going to split one with both the Ravens and Browns. But other than that, I don't think they're going to win but 2 more games on this entire schedule. I think they're going to go 4-13.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are going to I think the Steelers are going to have a hell of a second half of their schedule. I think they're going to collapse the second half of the season. They might come out.
Look at this. You got the Bills week 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to outscore them.
Yeah.
I don't think their defense is going to, like I said, their defense is going to be fine, but it's not going to it's not going to be enough to slow down the Bills. You got the Raiders in week 2. That's a winnable game, but I also think that it's not – again, I think the Steelers are going to have a lot of struggles. They're not going to be able to do anything on offense, and I think Derek Carr can probably handle that defense. So, that could be a toss-up. They could win. They could lose. I'm going to probably predict they're going to lose. I don't think they're going to be able to slow down Joe Burrow at all. And I at least keeping up scoring wise, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. So, that's a loss. At Packers, that's a loss because, week 4, I imagine Aaron Rodgers will still be on the Broncos. I imagine Aaron Rodgers will still be on the Packers by week 4. Now, how long he'll still be on the Packers, I don't know, but I don't think that he's going to be traded anytime soon. You got the Broncos in week 5. That's another potential loss, that's another potential win. But I don't really see that's definitely not a guaranteed win to me. I think if I'm making a prediction, though, I said I'll probably beat the Broncos because I just don't see the Broncos being very good next year. The Seahawks, they're not going to beat the Seahawks, especially with Russell Wilson back in tow, and they also improved that offensive line, so you're just not going to be able to keep up with them. The Browns, I forget which game I had them beating, or I had them losing to the Browns, so I don't remember. We'll just say one of those 2. I think the Steelers are going to take it. I think the other one the Browns are going to take.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take both, but okay.
Maybe. The Bears, that's a winnable game. So maybe. The Lions, I think that's the one guaranteed win they have this year because I think the Lions are so bad they could possibly be the first team to go 0-16 and then the first team to go 0-17. Now, I don't actually think that's going to happen. I think the Texans might actually go 0-17. I think the Lions are bad enough to have the shot at doing it, but I don't think they will. But I don't think the Steelers are going to lose to them. You got the Chargers. I think that's another winnable game. I'm not sure if they will or not. Bengals, we already talked about that. Ravens, we kind of already talked about that. I think they'll split with the Ravens. Vikings, I don't see them beating the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to be better than people expect this year. Titans, I don't see them beating the Titans. In Arrowhead, no. Browns, I already talked about. Ravens, we already talked about. So, we're sitting here going through like I said, we're going through the schedule. There's not a lot of winnable games here. There's there's maybe 6 or 7 winnable games. And honestly, I only think they're going to win about half of those. So 4-13's kind of generous.
Let's move on to the Ravens, man. That's the best way to end the Steelers.
Yeah.
4-13 is generous. And a 17-game schedule, you were saying the Steelers 4-win team. That's it.
4-win team. Yeah. Well, they're not good. They had a really good defense last year. Also wasn't the best defense in the NFL. They had a really good defense last year. And that defense is not going to be their defense is going to be missing some pieces next year. And on top of that, they have an offense that I think could possibly be the worst offense in the NFL without competition. Even worse than the Houston Texans.
They got some good 3 receivers.
And who's going to throw it to them?
That's true.
The crumbled remains of Ben Roethlisberger as he gets pummeled to death by, an unabated defensive line in very much the same way that we saw Joe Burrow last year. And by the way, a Ben Roethlisberger who is like A, trying to do way too much at this point, and B, just doesn't have the same mental side of the game that he used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't see the Steelers offense even working this year. He's got to get it to the receivers in the first place for them to do anything with it. And even then, I don't think the receivers are that damn good. You got Juju Smith-Schuster and,
Juju's not good.
What's his name? David Johnson or something?
I think Claypool's good.
Claypool's good, but I don't think Claypool can do it by himself. And then it's like, your next best receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, who's like, I think Juju's a good 3, not necessarily a good 2.
Yeah.
And then again, you got David Johnston, maybe I forget his name, but that's your next best receiver. So it's like your best weapon on offense is Najee Harris, and you have no O-line. So I don't know. I do not see the Pittsburgh Steelers having any sort of offensive attack next year that is worth talking about. But anyway, you're right. Let's move on to the Ravens. I don't really have a lot of Ravens news to talk about, so let's just talk about, I guess, season predictions here. I'm a little higher on the Ravens than let me rephrase. I'm a lot higher on the Ravens than I am on the Steelers because I'm
me too.
low on the Steelers.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens are looking at 9-8 this year.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, when I went through the schedule, I had them at 5-2 before the Week 8 bye. So essentially, I have them losing 6 of their final, 9 games, I think. I had them losing 6 of their final 9 games to finish the season.
For example, that game, they played the Browns back-to-back. I think they're going to win the first one, lose the second one. I think the first one they're going to win. You get the Browns before a bye. The Browns go 12 weeks without a bye. So you get the Browns before 12 weeks before the bye. You get Browns before a 12-week bye. So they're probably going to limp into that bye. You're going to probably beat them. But I think they're going to lose to the Browns. And I think for the stretch run, they're going to collapse. I think they're going to squeak into the playoffs this year. So I agree with you. I think you might want to turn that 9 wins to 10 wins. So I think they're still going to find someone to win 10 wins. Lamar, look, man, like, the thing is, though, say what you want about Lamar, but that man's athleticism is so insane. He finds ways to win games. Just because of athleticism. That's it.
It's going to be really hard for Lamar to overcome what I see as the NFL figuring out how to stop the Ravens by
that's true.
The middle of the season.
That's true. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think you're exactly right.
Exactly. That's why I say I think they're going to lose 6 of their final 9. I think it's 6 of their final 9 games. Like, immediately after the bye week, it's just going to be a shit fest for the Ravens. And they might still sneak into the playoffs at 9-8 because there's an extra playoff team.
Sure, I played them first. I played them first round of playoffs. I'm not afraid of the Ravens, the playoff Ravens.
Yeah,
I think nobody's afraid of playoff Ravens, but maybe the Titans. But I think even the Titans, if the Titans see the Ravens in the playoffs, they're gonna remember the Ravens dancing on their 50-yard line.
Yeah.
They're gonna remember that. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, we get these guys. Okay. Okay, we about to end Lamar Jackson's whole career. I don't
know if they're gonna do that. Like, as long as Lamar Jackson continues to like make a bunch of really impressive, like aesthetically really good looking plays with his legs and has some basic level of competence with throwing the ball, he's going to be revered in the NFL regardless of how well he's actually doing. But man, I'm telling you, I'm telling you the end of the Greg Roman offense is coming. Like, it happens every time Greg Roman develops an offense in the NFL, and he just keeps trying to do the same thing over and over and over, and eventually teams figure it out, and eventually it just doesn't work anymore. And I think it's going to happen by the middle of this season. And I think honestly, Greg Roman might get fired at the end of it because, because of lack of adaptability.
You know who's gonna be fired this year? Mike Tomlin.
You think Mike Tomlin's going to get fired? I don't. I think the Steelers are too arrogant to fire Mike Tomlin. And also, if I'm right, the Steelers go 4-13, or even if I'm not right about the actual record, and I'm right that they're not going to be so good and they have a losing record, I believe it'll be Mike Tomlin's first ever losing record.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you think that's going to be enough for the Steelers to fire him?
It matters how they go 4-13. So what here's the thing. What if hypothetically this whole thing, this whole culture with the Steelers is something that's been bubbling for a while? What if this whole thing with the culture for the Steelers is just something that we're watching just unfold in person, something that's been going on in the organization, but they've been doing a good job of hiding, but now they're not hiding it no more.
I don't think they've been doing a good job of hiding it because I've been seeing.
Oh yeah, but this is what we've been seeing. What if it's a lot worse than we realize? You know, keep in mind the whole Mason Rudolph. You got to think about the whole Mason Rudolph Myles Garrett fight. You know, Mason Rudolph. A lot of people believe that Mason Rudolph said something to Myles Garrett. A lot of people think that he said something. That's a problem. We can't just ignore that. Why in a locker room, in a culture, is somebody okay with saying something so mad it's going to get somebody, maybe Myles Garrett react on his own, but maybe there's a culture problem in your locker room where you have people doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. And maybe Mason Rudolph is a part of the problem. Maybe Juju's a part of that problem. Maybe Antonio Brown is a part of that problem. Maybe Ben Roethlisberger is a part of that problem. It is weird that all of these people that are having these crazy outbursts, they're doing these crazy things, they're really distraction. It is weird that all of these players are coming out of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. It just makes me wonder, what's going on in Pittsburgh, man? What's going on in Pittsburgh? What's going on in Pittsburgh? That's it. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I just think that there's something going on bigger than we think it is, and it's gonna all collapse, and then Mike Tomlin's gonna get fired.
I don't see Mike Tomlin getting fired this year, but I mean, if you're right, there is this like seedy underbelly of the Pittsburgh Steelers that just hasn't come to light yet and is going to come to light at the end of the season. I mean, that's a hell of a jump to make, honestly. But I just think that he's just losing his voice. Oh, I'm not saying there's anything crazy going on in the organization. I'm saying that. I'm just saying that there's just this. I just think that a lot of times, sometimes people's voices aren't heard anymore in the organization. I don't think his voice is being heard in the organization. I don't think people care. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think his voice matters anymore. I just think that the players just doing whatever the heck they want. Pretty much what I'm getting at.
Well, I think that might be. I think you're right that the players are just doing whatever they want, and that's part of that's a big part of the problem with the rot that exists in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. But I don't think that's necessarily because Mike Tomlin doesn't have control or anything like that. I mean, he doesn't, but I don't think that's so much just because he's lost control. I think it's because he just doesn't want to discipline them.
I mean, that's
basically the way careers. He's let these players do whatever they want, and it worked out before because they had players who were really focused on football and who were really had relatively high football character, who were really focused on what you wanted them to be focused on, and you could trust your players to basically be assholes. But then come Sunday, they're going to be ready to play and kick everybody's ass. But because you don't have that same kind of players, Mike Tomlin's still trying to do the same thing, and it's getting him in trouble because the players he has now are not the kind of guys who are going to be, who have that kind of attention. Even Ben Roethlisberger, who at one time was that kind of person, is a different person now.
We're not talking about. We're not still up here talking about. We're talking about Ben Roethlisberger up here changing the plays, not listening to the offensive coordinator. These are things we're talking about. We're talking about Claypool not knowing how to keep his mouth shut. He's a rookie. Doesn't mean that toxic culture is spilling off to him. We're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster making videos to lower his stock right before free agency, like self-destruction. We're talking about Antonio Brown going off the walls. We're talking about Bell going off the walls. We're talking about Mason Rudolph being accused for stuff. Like these are all things that are being coming out of the same organization.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know. Just thinking. Just saying, you know, they're saying 4 wins of the fire. It depends on how the season goes. Because if this team self-destructs in the middle of the season and they collapse within, he's fired. He is fired. And I can see the season happening like that.
I mean, yeah, it could. I don't think I think the Steelers are too arrogant to fire Mike Tomlin. I really do. I said that at the beginning of the episode. I think, you know, if the Steelers go 4-13, like I think they're going to, and everything's just in dysfunction and disarray, and et cetera, I think the Steelers are going to let Mike Tomlin fire whoever he wants to on his coaching staff, and they're going to keep him around because he won a Super Bowl at one time, and he had up until that season had never had a losing record. Now, I will say, if he has multiple losing seasons in a row, then yeah, they'll probably fire him at that point, or at least, you know, what they'll most likely do is they'll ask him to resign, and, you know, do it amicably because they don't fire. They've never fired coaches, at least not since Chuck Noll. Like, Mike Tomlin is the third coach that the Pittsburgh Steelers have had in the Super Bowl era, which is kind of unreal when you really think about it. But
yeah.
But again, this is the problem the Steelers, I think, are having is the fact that they've got this, you know, old school way of doing things that just isn't working anymore, and they refuse to change it because they're just egotistical and refuse to accept the fact that, you know, what they like, their thing isn't working anymore.
Well, we're going to see what happens. Y'all still suck, Pittsburgh.
We are going to see what happens. But I think I was going to do it for today's episode of the Battle of Ohio podcast, guys. Thank you so much for listening. You can always find me at Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter and Facebook.com/Phelps. If you want to see any more of what I do, or, you know, or if you're, you know, like you want to talk about various things about the team, just hit me up or anything. Or maybe you're a Steelers fan who found your way to this podcast and you're hearing me talk all this shit about your team. Well, come talk shit to me then. You know, don't just leave it in the YouTube comments. You can come talk to me personally about that, and I will, you know, absolutely have something to say right back to you. You can always find Thomas for basically the same reasons at T_star94 on Twitter and Instagram, and he's got a YouTube page called Blowdown Page. And, you know, comedy videos, Black history videos, etc. You know, fun stuff like that. Also, he released a rap song. So, Driving While Black, go listen to that.
Yeah, it's a good song. Oh, we got another one coming, man. Oh, boy.
Oh, we got another one coming. All right. So,
oh, boy.
So follow him to find the new song as well.
Oh, it's coming. It's gonna give us a month, but it's gonna be interesting.
All right. Well, like I said, everybody, thanks for listening to today's episode of the podcast. We'll catch you on the next one, and I'll leave you with the Who Dey.
Go Browns. Yeah, this song though is gonna be crazy though. Like.